Game one between the Montreal Canadiens and Vegas Golden Knights gets underway tonight. Our coverage of the playoffs brought to you by BitBuy, Canada's #1 cryptocurrency platform. That's Shane Kelly and Aaron Ward. I'm David Pagnotta. And gentlemen, let's dive right in. The spotlight's going to be all over Carey Price and Marc-Andre Fleury in this series, but it's the defense that's really under the microscope for both of these clubs.
Yeah, both Fleury and Price have been spectacular. The big reason why they're both Conn Smythe contenders. I mean, Carey Price, Montreal Canadiens aren't advancing into the third round without him. And the same thing goes with Fleury. These two goalies have shown who they've been, what they're all about, that the history, the legend that they are is proven to kind of show what they're capable of at the key times. And so this is the reason why we're in this circumstance right now. Now, as you mentioned, the defensemen, completely agree. The three-headed monster in Vegas, Theodore, Holden, and Pietrangelo, between them have 20 points. I think this presents a pretty big challenge for the Montreal Canadiens because in the two previous series, they haven't really had to account for a second wave of offense. And those three guys account for 20 points between them. So Montreal's really going to have to have their heads up on the back check and be aware of what's coming. Now, for Montreal, I think there's a different monster that they have to deal with, and that's the fact that they've got the young defensemen in Kulak, Romanov, and Gustafsson. And the idea is in the past series, they've been trying to hide them. But with Petrie out, we don't know essentially how Ducharme's going to do that, right? You're on the road. You don't get the last matchup. So these guys are going to have a bit of a situation of baptism by fire. You hope that they've learned on the job. Romanov only basically has one game, but these guys have to really be on top of their game. And the tough part is, as we saw with Colorado, Vegas has no weaknesses. They roll four lines. Even their character line makes an impact. So these guys better be ready, and hopefully they're paying attention in the video sessions.
Yeah, Wardo, I think surprisingly, the D that Montreal has rolled out there on the back end, the young ones at least, haven't actually been that bad. Now, in Romanov's case, he's played 12 minutes or whatever it was in one game against the Jets. But Gustafsson and Kulak haven't been terrible. Gustafsson above 50% possession, above 50% expected goals. Kulak is right around the same numbers. They've been hiding them. Certainly possible, more possible against the Jets than Vegas, but I don't think they're going to be an absolute dumpster fire back there. I think their bigger problem is going to be, this is the best team that they've played and it's not close. So with the step up in quality competition and the fact that you have to pick one of them to play more, what's that going to do to their numbers?
Well, it might not just be one of them because it looks like Romanov and Gustafsson will be paired together to start this series off without Jeff Petrie. It certainly looks like he's unlikely to play game one, but him and John Merrill have both made the trip along with Jake Evans to Vegas. So we may see them, perhaps, at least one of them, in game two. Wardo, how frightening could that potentially be from a defensive perspective if Romanov and Gustafsson are paired together to start the game?
We are in Vegas, and I would say that we're rolling the dice and having two offensive defensemen as your third pairing. Because Romanov, again, he's a riverboat gambler, and I think that's why he got himself eliminated from consideration for as long as he has been over the course of the playoffs. They kind of were forced, the hand was forced, and they had to put him in. He played well enough where he wasn't noticeable in the final game. They got the victory, so that should get the nerves out for him. But for this pairing, I mean, Vegas capitalizes on mistakes, and offensive defensemen are creators. And the problem with creators, they're also mistake makers, and that is where it's going to bite the Montreal Canadiens in the rear. So I think that the limited number of minutes that are doled out for these guys would be in the benefit of the Montreal Canadiens. And if I'm Shea Weber and I'm Edmondson and Sherratt, I'm expecting to play numbers off the chart. But again, we're at that stage this season. No one expects them to be where they're at, and they're going to be at this stage.
Yeah, I don't get playing those two together because Gustafsson hasn't been bad. He's been better than Kulak. He's been way better than Romanov. You're basically saying, we're going to hide you and play you, 5-10 minutes a night at 5-on-5. They haven't scored at 5-on-5. They're 50%. They've scored 16. They've given up 16 at 5-on-5. Vegas, on the other hand, they have 40 goals at 5-on-5 in these playoffs. So if you want to go toe-to-toe with them, you need somebody to start scoring at 5-on-5, and Gustafsson is one of the few guys from the back end who can help do that.
Now, the Canadiens have certainly utilized all four of their forward core lines throughout the first two rounds of this series, but so has Vegas. And, there wasn't a third-line threat on the Winnipeg Jets. There wasn't a third line threat really with the Toronto Maple Leafs either. But when you have Alex Tuch, Matthias Janmark, and Nick Waugh that are performing well together, Wardo, that's going to be another challenge for Montreal and an advantage, I think, for the Vegas Golden Knights.
I think Montreal's got to draw upon their experience with the Toronto Maple Leafs and understand that they got to play a very disciplined defensive style of game. And the tougher part is, I mean, let's be honest, Vegas is a way heavier team than the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're going to challenge you in all areas of the ice. And you saw what happened to Colorado, not only, and we mentioned it earlier about the defensemen, I think what changed the balance of that series for Colorado and Vegas was Vegas started getting their defensemen involved, which then in turn opened up so much that was available to the forwards. And the forwards got so comfortable with playing with the puck and dominating the likes of the Colorado D and the Colorado defensive zone that Montreal has to be readily aware that they've got to stay in their lanes, they've got to know what their assignments are, and go back to the same mentality they had in Toronto, is wait for your opportunities. And hopefully the guys like Perry and Stahl kind of impart to these guys that there's a level of patience playing teams like this, and whether or not you go into the feeling out process or you come out, guns a-blazing, it's going to be a long series, hopefully for the Montreal Canadiens, in terms of understanding what Vegas brings and adapting as it goes.
It's going to be hard fought no matter what. I'm not anticipating any blowouts in this series. Crazier things have happened, and we'll certainly see how things unfold. That's Shane Kelly and Aaron Ward. I'm David Pagnotta.